Welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin, and today I am interviewing Maureen Francisco. Maureen is the co-director of the Miss Washington, Oregon, and Idaho USA competitions. She's also the co-founder of the Global Beauty Awards. She's absolutely dynamic. I love her. Can't wait to hear what she has to say. Okay. Hi, Maureen. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. You do such a great job, and what an honor to speak with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Can you do me a favor and just tell everybody just a little bit about you?
Yes, so I am the co-executive producer of Northwest Productions, and under that umbrella, there is Pageants Northwest, and we produce the state pageant qualifiers to Miss USA and Miss Teen USA for Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. I'm also the co-founder of the Global Beauty Awards show, where we celebrate the pageant community at the international level. We are now going on in our 8th year, and so far we have recognized the first female CEO in Loreal's history, and that's Jamie Kern Lima. We've honored the co-founder of the WWE Linda McMahon, Miss Universe President Paula Sugar, along with the former Miss Universe CEO Amy Emmerich, and so many others. It's a great event where we actually focus on what's going right in pageantry and celebrating those who are doing excellent work. In addition to all of that, I also pitch nonfiction content. So our company is tied with another company where we produce nonfiction content. I love storytelling. That's what I used to do in my previous life before I was a state director or I was in the pageant community. I was a news reporter and anchor for the first part of my career. And then I worked at a startup company and then pageantry. And it's hard to believe, but I also am a consultant with all of everything that I do and a mother. I'm a mother to my son Malachi. I homeschool him, and I'm never bored.
Oh, I bet you're never bored. I bet you're very, very busy. Sounds like you have a lot of moving parts and a lot of balls in the air. So
Many moving parts.
tell me a little bit about maybe a defining moment in your life that made a big impact on you.
Hmm. Oh, I love that question. A defining moment that made a huge impact on me. Anytime when my faith is tested,
Mm.
it's when I have to really lean in on my faith and make sure that I might not do the popular decision, but it is what is right within my faith. And I also have to think about, am I doing things with integrity, character, and excellence?
Was there a specific time when your faith was tested that you can tell us the story behind it?
My faith was tested last year in August when my pageant was put on pause.
Mm.
It was really challenging because you know, within 2 weeks before my big show, my faith was tested when I was told to cancel the pageant. So we're still working out everything in regards to that, but my faith was tested at that moment. My faith is tested when I speak to contestants and their families, because I always want to make sure we are transparent. We are delivering on what we say that we're delivering on. My faith is tested when I see something inaccurate on social media. Do I speak out about it, or do I just not say anything? I have to choose my battles. So my faith is tested a lot, and it's something that I have to really talk within myself of like, is this worth my time and energy to dissect it even more?
When we talk about, pageantry, you've been involved for how many years now that you've been the co-producer?
12 years. And it wasn't something that I said to myself, oh, I'm going to be part of pageantry. I did a pageant once when I was in high school. I did it to work on my confidence and to work on my public speaking skills. And I thought that chapter of my life would forever be closed. And then I was introduced to it back in 2012. My husband now, he's been the state director for more than 21 years, and I did not know that was part of the marriage agreement that I would be working with him full time.
Has that working together, I can imagine that brings you a lot closer. It might cause friction too, but I'm sure it brings you closer as a couple in many ways.
It's a lot of work and there's a lot of communication. It's challenging. Let me tell you, when we do go on a date night, it ends up being work talk. So we have to somehow like tell ourselves, okay, we are not going to talk about work, but it's hard because he was also the co-founder. He's also the co-founder of the Global Beauty Award show. And when I pitch non-scripted content, nonfiction content, he's also part of that. So it's really hard not to talk about work. I don't recommend it for everyone to marry their spouse and start a business together. That I don't recommend unless you can have a really good communication skills. You have to be able to speak openly. You have to make some tough decisions together, and at some point turn it off. And again, I need to work on practicing what I'm saying because it's really hard to turn it off.
My parents ran businesses together my whole life. So my dad owns Mental Management Systems. He's an Olympic champion. He started the company in 1977, and he and my mom have worked together since then. And pretty much full time, every business. When I was a kid, they had like 4 businesses that they ran at one time. They were working it together every step of the way. And so I've watched it from the side, and I see it can be beautiful, but it can also be really difficult. So what's your advice? Let's say somebody is watching and they have a business with their spouse, or they want to have a business with their spouse. You mentioned communication. Are there any secrets to how to make this communication work, or how to make businesses successful as a couple?
When people do come up to me and say, gosh, I love watching you and your partner start a business together and you continue to work together. Is that something that my husband and I should do? And I say, wait a minute. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you and your partner want to do this? Because there's a lot of work. And let me tell you, it's not like it's easy to shut things off. And also, when you talk about, how was your day, you kind of pretty much know how that person's day is. So you really have to work on the romantic and the date nights and just, again, leaving that world behind. But the first question I ask people is, are you sure? And secondly, are you ready to really work hard together and be able to communicate in such a transparent way that sometimes it hurts, but it's what's good for the business and also good for the marriage. It's not like you can shut it off and let's say if you do go to an event together, my husband and I go to a lot of weddings together, you have to be able to be like, okay, this is not work mode. This is us enjoying a wedding together. So you have to really have that type of boundaries and expectations. And again, constantly communicating.
I ask everyone to define winning. And so since you've been involved in pageantry for a while, y'all run the beauty awards. Tell me, what's your definition of winning?
My definition has evolved over the years, and it's really now very important to me that winning is all about how many lives can you impact? How many lives are you blessing and making their lives better? So that's really important to me, and that's part of my legacy that I want to leave behind is how many people's lives have I changed for the better. So it's not about the gold medal, it's not about the trophy or anything, is how have you impacted people's lives that are ways and they look back at their own life and say, thank you for that introduction, or thank you for that scholarship, or thank you for that letter recommendation. Thank you for that mentorship.
It's interesting you say that because so my dad obviously won a gold medal in the Olympics, but he'll tell me that's not the most important thing about him. He goes, that's the thing that everybody says. Oh, you're an Olympic gold medalist. He's like, that's great, but that's not the most important thing. He says, I value coaching way above the value of winning the Olympics, which I think is so good. It's where that mentorship comes in and that investment into the next generation, which is what I feel like you're saying. It's
Yes, I
so
mean,
cool.
like every morning and every night, I tell God, okay, God, it's a big day, please give me the wisdom, the heart, the strength, and the protection, because there's a lot of spiritual warfare happening that I ask God for guidance. And at the end of the day, I'm grateful for the wisdom, the protection, the clarity, and the strength. So again, it's something that I'm very conscious about is is what I say, because words really do matter. It starts wars, it ends wars, it formulates friendships, it ends friendships. So again, it's all about communication.
What's your advice to someone who says, "Well, how do I protect what I'm about to say? How do I make sure I say the right thing?"
So make sure you're in a place where you are not, your emotions aren't so high that you are basing what you're about to say on your emotions. It's about like you're in a calm place. I went to a retreat. This was in January, and one of the healing people told me, when you make decisions, make sure you're in a very calm place. Your best decisions are made when you are calm. So I'm always checking my heart rate. Like my heart rate, is my heart rate at a calm place, or is it when I'm angry or there's rage? Because no good decisions are made when you're in that kind of emotion, when you're in that rage or anger or anything. There's no good decision made. So I have to really make sure that I'm centered, I'm grounded, I'm calm, and I'm thinking clearly. And I also surround myself with really good mentors who I can bounce ideas from. Sometimes I'll role play with somebody and say, "Hey, I'm about to talk to somebody about this. How do you perceive this communication is coming from my heart to you?" And they'll tell me, "Okay, I hear what you're saying. Here's where I would probably use this word versus this word," or "That sounds great." So I'm open to always learning. That's why I will talk to my mentors and bounce ideas with them.
So, having mentored so many girls, I think you said in your bio that you have mentored maybe thousands of girls through pageantry and maybe even other aspects of your life. But what do you think is the biggest thing that maybe they are struggling with that you're able to help with that might help our audience?
So when I mentor somebody, I ask myself, if I pour into this person, will it actually make a difference? Because there are certain people that I will pour into, and 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, they're still at the same spot. They have to do some work within themselves. How are they looking at the world? Are they having a victim mentality or a victor attitude? So again, before I actually start pouring into somebody, I really do ask myself, will it make a difference, or are they still at the same spot? If I know that my words can actually make a difference, I will continue to pour. It's like a plant, when you put a seed in the soil and you put water, and you want to see it flourish and grow. So I'm going to continue to provide the nutrients, the water, the words of wisdom, the connections, because I know it will make a difference. And my time is limited. I'm so busy because I'm juggling so many jobs, and I'm also a mother. And I have to make sure that if I'm going to pour into somebody, it's actually going to make a difference. And they are in a place where they take my advice and they know I'm coming from a very good place, and they know I mean well. Because sometimes when you ask somebody and they tell you, "Hey, I want honest advice, really honest advice," and you give that honest advice, sometimes people are not in a place where they can actually take that honest feedback. They're not ready to learn and grow. So you almost have to have this student mentality that you're willing to grow, you're willing to do better, you come from a place of humility, you're humble. So those are the various factors I think about before I really mentor somebody. And it's been more than 1,000 women that I've mentored, whether writing a letter of recommendation, they've gone through the pageant program. I've given them a connection because again, it's all about relationship building. So if I'm going to connect them with somebody, I've got to vet them that they're going to be somebody who's going to take that connection and run with it and do something magical.
I think that
with that relationship.
I think one of the things I'm receiving from what you're saying is that if you're wanting to be mentored, you had better have fertile soil. Because if you don't, it doesn't matter how much water or sunshine or nutrients you're being given, if you're not willing to utilize it, you're not going to bloom.
Exactly. And when I talk to women or just anybody, I want to see where they're at in their season and their life. Mm-hmm. So for example, if they're in a season where they're hurt people hurt people, mm-hmm. right? If they're in the season of they want to bless others, people who have that attitude want to bless other people. So when I talk to somebody, and sometimes I won't get that at the first meeting or second or even third, what I've learned is it takes about 5 interactions before you start to see a pattern with that person. For example, it can be something as simple like, hey, Maureen, let's schedule a meeting. And you said, sure, share with me some dates. And if that person can't nail a date, you're like, okay, well, you just put it out there. So is that person's responsibility to nail a date? Or if you have a friend who is like, let's get together, but there's never been a date or time or a location that's happened, you've got to see like, well, where is the disconnect? How come we can never get together? So I look at, again, patterns. Mm-hmm. I look at, because to me, words don't mean anything unless I see actions and patterns. And it takes me a while, right, to see someone's patterns. And really, typically about 5 interactions with that person, you can see a pattern to develop. And when I see a pattern develop, like if I talk to that person and it seems like the world is against them constantly, I feel like by the 3rd interaction, they still have that same attitude. By the 5th interaction, there's that same attitude. So again, trust people how they are, showing you who they are.
Like believe them. Yeah.
Right? Because they're revealing to you exactly who they are and how they're operating in this particular season in his or her life. And I say season because it's not forever. Like here in the Northwest, we have 4 seasons. You have summer, fall, winter, spring. And in people's lives, they might be going through a particular tough season that no matter how much you mentor them, they're not ready to receive that mentorship.
So if we go back to the beauty awards, how did that start? You mentioned, really showcasing the positive side of pageantry. How did that begin?
So to give you a little bit of my background, so prior to me being a state director, I shared with you, I was a news reporter and anchor. I worked all over the country from Yakima, Washington, Savannah, Georgia, Flint, Michigan, then eventually made my way back to Seattle, Washington. And from there, I started to work at startup companies. So my mind is all about like, where is the disconnect or where is the need that we have to fix something and let's find a solution. Mm-hmm. So I've been involved in pageantry. I think this was back in 2018. So about 5 or 6 years, I was thinking, is there an event where we gather together, we celebrate one another, and it's peers to peer who are submitting nominations, voting? I was thinking of this like emulating similar to the Emmys because I've been a member of the regional Emmys. I received a scholarship from the regional Emmys in our area when I was going into broadcasting. When I was in college, I received this scholarship. So I've been involved with the regional Emmys here. And I just kept thinking, I love what they've done, the business model, and how, again, peers will vote on certain submissions. So I emulated the exact business model and did it with the Global Beauty Awards. So again, it's peers voting on each other who they think is excellent. And what's great about the Global Beauty Awards, we have so many different pageant systems, from young to senior to men to women to really everyone. It's amazing that we come together. It doesn't matter what system, and we read the submissions. I don't, but the VIP voting members, and they decide on who should win certain awards.
And it's been in existence since 2018, or was it before that?
2018. So we thought of this concept in 2017 and launched it the following year. So with me, before I think of something, I like to poke holes in it and think, can this be done? What is it going to take to get this done? This is going to be a lot of work. And how do I show others something that's never been done, that this is what the industry needs? So we are now going on our 8th year. Our last award show was our biggest one yet. We had the co-founder of the WWE, Linda McMahon, there. And I remember her epic lifetime achievement speech. You can find it at the GBA's Instagram. And she talked about how people just want to be seen in pageantry. It's not about like, look at me, look at what I've done, look at my wonderful gown or my hair or so on. It's about see me, who I am, what I'm doing, and how I'm serving others. So again, it's such a wonderful event, because it doesn't matter if you have any issues with anyone. You just put that aside, because it's all about celebrating each other.
Do you feel like that's solved a problem within pageantry to an extent?
I do, because sometimes I see in social media, I see negativity, and I want to show those who are not even in the industry that we're not about toddlers and tiaras or fighting with each other. It's really a beautiful sisterhood. It's a beautiful community. I go to an average about 5 weddings a year, and that's because it's within the pageant community, whether it's my former contestants, my former title holders, sponsors, volunteers, anybody involved in the pageant community. And I just see this beautiful family, and I really want to put the focus on that when it comes to pageantry, because I guarantee you, with the media, they will want the clickbaits and the headlines to be about the negative things happening. And I can tell you there's more positive things in pageantry, but we don't get that spotlight.
What's the best, maybe positive story that you can tell from your years in pageantry to give a positive message for the people watching who may not understand pageant and all they see are negative headlines?
I remember Rachel Benson. She was our first Down syndrome contestant. She competed as a teen, and she actually made the semifinals. And what I remember about her is her genuine joy, her joy and her willingness to be challenged and to learn. And she looked at life not with adversity, but with like, what can I do? How can I go after my dreams? And since she's competed in our pageant, she's been a trophy presenter at the regional Emmys, and I've seen her do other things. I follow her on Instagram, but every time I come across her page, I just see joy.
I see that in a lot of girls who participate, that it's when you exude joy and confidence, you won't be forgotten.
Yes, because I want to attract other people who are in a joyful stage in their life. I want to attract that. So I'm very again conscious, in particular, like what I'm following on social media,
Mm-hmm.
who I'm aligning myself with, who I'm with during my free time. I want to be around people who have joy in their life. Who wants to hang around somebody who's just complaining? That
That's not,
doesn't
it's,
sound fun to me. Does that sound fun to you,
no,
Heather?
no, that's life draining, not life giving. When you're around
Exactly.
someone who only complains, that drains you so much. Tell me, has there been a time in your life when you've been given a piece of advice that has just changed the trajectory of your life or just changed something for you?
Yes. So that piece of that advice that really changed my life is from my mentor and very close friend. Her name is Dr. Connie Mariano. And again, I apologize the different mood effects in my house because I don't have curtains. And surprisingly enough, it's actually sunny here in the Northwest. That's why you're seeing different lighting. So I apologize about that. So the advice she gave to me, she was a former White House doctor to 3 U.S. presidents, and she's actually given me a lot of words of wisdom. One of the wisdom she gave to me is in life, either you solve it or you don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can either be the type of person who complains about the situation, or you can actually be part of the solution and solve it. It's either one or the other. And she also told me in life, you can be the complainer or you can be the person who is grateful. So she told me if you're going to be the complainer, you better have receipts to back it up, or you can be the problem solver. She said to me, if you're the problem solver, you're going to have more people coming to you and blessing you with more opportunities. So that piece of advice really just has stayed with me in various careers that I've had. The other piece of advice she said to me when she was working at the White House, once again, she was the first military woman to become the White House doctor to 3 U.S. presidents. When she was at the White House, she is a petite Asian woman. She's about maybe my height, 5 feet or
Mm-hmm.
so. And when there was a medical emergency at the White House, people often thought she was the nurse, not the doctor. So when she would show up, um, they would say, well, where's the doctor? And she goes, I am the doctor. And rather than getting really angry at people because, once again, they stereotyped who
Mm-hmm.
they thought what a doctor should look like at the White House, she said, show them excellence. Because maybe that person has never seen somebody who looks like you be in the position or role that you're at. So show people excellence. So again, those words of wisdom have really resonated with me throughout my career.
I think that's so good. I think it's important to show excellence in everything that you do. We should pursue all things with excellence. And why wouldn't we want people to see us as excellent, even if they misinterpret who we might be based on their own preconceived ideas? But then obviously I like the idea of solving it because my company name is Sumlin Solutions. So I'm always looking for a solution to a difficult problem. So thank you so much, Maureen, for spending time with me. How can people follow you and follow along? And if they want to compete in one of your pageants, how do they do it?
So you can follow us at Pageants Northwest Instagram page. I'm also at Maureen M. Francisco Instagram and my website, maureenfrancisco.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you're not already a Patreon member, join my Patreon membership. I'm going to pick Maureen's brain and we're going to learn what is more of her advice. She's given us so much already. More advice for women. And then also, how do we prep these pageant girls for their state competition? We're going to pick her brain on that too. Thank you so much, Maureen.
Thank you, Heather.